I'm making this video on living in a car. This is basically my story about living in a car back in the day. And why I think it's so ridiculous that people glorify living in a car. Uh, I mean, on one hand, a lot of people have no choice. So uh, if you have no choice and you have to live in your car, then it sucks. But for the people that try to glorify it, make it look all cool, here's my take on living in a car. Back in 1993, I landed a job as a cook. This is after my years of the Marine Corps and all these other weird jobs that I had over my careers, if you want to call them a career. But I was living in my car. It was I think it was a 1990 uh, Pontiac Sunbird 2000. So I'm living in this car. I had a job as a cook in a place called an intermediate healthcare facility. This is a facility where people um, basically they give their social security checks away, so somebody can uh, feed them slop all day and let them crap all over themselves. Some of these places are, I'm sure, are pretty decent, but for the most part, working as a cook, what I saw was pretty nasty. Working in an intermediate healthcare facility, because people would basically fall down in the bathtub or in the shower and crap all over themselves. But I continued to work there, and I wasn't making a lot of money, and I ended up finding myself homeless. And the nearest place to live was my 2000 Pontiac Sunbird. 1990 Pontiac Sunbird 2000. And I basically was I was a lot younger then, and so I could kind of adapt pretty easily. I was kind of used to being homeless on and off anyway, so it was like, yeah, whatever. I'll cram myself in this little car, and I had a surfboard, and I put the surfboard over on top of me, so I could kind of sneak down in there, and nobody would see me when I was like crashed out. The problem was is that it'd get really hot during the day, and probably after about 2 days, 3 days of living in the car and really not having a place to shower, I started getting really ripe, and I knew that would happen. Uh, but I was getting really cheesy and gross and stinky, and the car was stinky, and I had no ice box. I don't even think I had any food. I think I just ate at the healthcare place. But it was a pretty disgusting situation, and but I did that for probably about maybe 3 to 4 months, living in this Pontiac 1990 Sunbird 2000. 1990, 2000. It was a 2000 series 2000. And so when I see these videos of people that are making it look like it's so cool to live in your car, because I got Fido here with me, he's my protector, he loves me, and I'm living my best life in the back of my car. So I mean, some people out of necessity, I can see it because you got people that are working and they still have to live in their car, which totally sucks. But the people that just move in their car just to try to make it look all cool on YouTube, I ain't buying it because I know how cheesy it can get living in a freaking car. Uh, Unless you have like, I guess it depends on what kind of person you are. If you're really slobby and you're cheesy and you really don't mind waking up and it's smelling like butt hoils, then I mean that's fine. I mean you could always mask it, with perfume or whatever, some kind of cheesy deodorant. But in my opinion, it's really gross, and I know for a fact that it can get pretty disgusting. And another thing, I was living in my car uh, during that time, and a couple other times I had lived in my vehicle. I didn't like it, but I had to do what I had to do. And I remember one time going to a residential area, and I just said, whatever. I'm just going to park here because I don't think anybody's going to mess with me. So I get in the car, I'm crammed up in the car, and I go to sleep. And I'm just sleeping in the car. The windows are fogging up, and but I didn't care because I was kidding me. Sure enough, 2 o'clock in the morning, here comes Billy Bob, police officer, knocking on the window and rousting me from my slumber. And I was like, "What the hell? What's going on? What did I do?" He said, "You didn't do anything. Somebody called, said there was a suspicious vehicle in the neighborhood." So that is another reason why living in your car can totally suck balls. Because people that live in houses are usually pretty aware of what the heck's going on around where they live. They're looking out the windows. They're like, "Oh, what's going on there? Who's that?" And that's my opinion of. Thank God I don't have to live in. I'm not living in my car anymore. I have a place. But I remember those days, and I'm sure if you're living in a car and you're parked at Walmart, uh, weird stuff happens. I've had people come up in the middle of the night on me when I was living in my car, and even when I had no car, people would come up out of nowhere. One time I was homeless on the beach in California. I woke up and I was keeping myself warm by a fire pit. I was cozy by my little fire pit. I had nothing to my name but a backpack. I was completely destitute. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing to my name. I had a backpack with a few shirts and clothes and stuff. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and I look over and I could barely see because it was dark, but I had the fire going. And here's this big dude standing there, uh, relieving himself in the fire pit and and peeing all over my embers of my fire and basically putting my fire out with his pee. So uh, I mean, as funny as it sounds, it's humiliating. It's probably got to be the most degrading thing to be homeless and having another homeless bum come up to you and pee next to your head. I mean, that's I don't think you can. I don't think you can stoop any lower in life. But that's one. And then I'll tell one more story here on another incident that happened when I was homeless. This is probably back in the early '90s. I had a backpack, nice backpack, beautiful backpack. It was a red backpack, and I crammed all my stuff in it. And I was very proud of the backpack. It was a nice backpack. And I had a bike, so during the daytime I'd go around and I'd collect cans and bottles and whatever just to get a couple extra dollars. Well, so during the nighttime I actually slept on a beach jetty. I literally walked out on the jetty and slept in the rocks. I know it sounds weird, but I grew up at the beach, and so the beach was always our playground. So if you didn't have any place to sleep, I figured, well, I'll just go sleep on the jetty. So I had this beautiful backpack, red backpack, beautiful backpack, kind of like a mountain bike, mountain. What would you call that? Mountain. mountain climbing backpack, kind of maybe like a hiker's backpack. And so I hid the backpack in the rocks. I literally stuffed it down in the rocks, and then I would go off on my bike and I'd collect all my cans. I cash them in at the local recycle place, and then when I got done recycling all my cans, I'd come back, get my backpack, and go bum around somewhere else. But I'd have an extra couple of dollars, so I was happy. So one night I put that backpack in the rocks, and one day I would pick the backpack in the rocks and stuff it down way down into the rocks so nobody could see it. And I left and did all my can thing and everything, and I came back, and sure enough, the backpack's gone. And that at that moment in my life, I realized I've lost everything. I mean, I literally had nothing. I had like my clothes on, and other than that, I had nothing to my name. I had no deodorant. I had no toothbrush. I had no toothpaste. I had nothing. I had nothing. And so basically, I can't really tie it into living in your car, but it's the same kind of thing where you're just kind of bumming, you know. I will say one thing of living that kind of lifestyle is not for me anymore. I mean, I did it. Hopefully, I knock on my thick skull. Hopefully, I figured out how not to have to live in my car anymore. But so far, so good. I mean, but I did live in my car, and I've been homeless, eating out of the dumpsters back in the '80s, which was really kind of in the early '90s, which was kind of an awakening for me. But as far as living in the car, living in the car could even be worse in some cases you if you have a job and that's your only source of income, and you have to live in your car until you get another check. That sucks. Um, but that's a real thing for a lot of people. So, and I get it because I did it. But to live in your car to show how great it is, how fantastic it is. You know, it's so great. Here I am. I'm traveling. I'm everywhere. Look at me. I'm great. I'm perfect. I'm living my best life. I kind of I kind of doubt that that's really the case when you're waking up smelling your dog's farts, smelling your own farts, and then having to go down to the local gym or recreation center to take a shower. That's just my take. A lot of it's from experience. Yeah. But if you want to live in your car, go ahead. I mean, they can be cozy. I like them for long drives to go out to the beach. All right, thanks for watching.